Hello again. So I wanted to give a quick update on Jonathan, our goldfish. So if you aren't already aware of the story, I take care of two donated goldfish, Obi and Jonathan, here at Sulzer Regional Library. And a few months ago, Jonathan, the smaller goldfish, had gotten sick and had been showing signs of distress. He was breathing funny, and I had to take him home. So whenever a fish gets sick, you get kind of superstitious about what is it that could be making that fish sick. And so at the time, I was thinking in my head, like, what did I change recently? What could have caused this? And I had to like rule out a whole bunch of different things. And so one of the thoughts was that Obi was bullying him. Another thought was that it might be gill flukes that was making it hard for him to breathe. And one thing that was in the back of my mind, but I had ruled it out, that it couldn't possibly be the issue, was I had changed the water pump on the waterfall. And I had replaced it with a newer one because the old one was getting kind of clogged, and I was like, let me just swap it for this other one. And I had done that, and it was probably a week or a few days before Jonathan started showing that distress. And in my head, I was like, well, I did do that recently, but there's no way. A water pump shouldn't have any effect like on the fish itself. Like I wasn't, and Obi wasn't showing any signs of problems, so it was like, there's no way. So I had taken Jonathan home, and I had set him up in his quarantine tank, and the next day he was fine. Even though I gave him the methylene blue and the Paracleanse, I was thinking maybe it was a medication, maybe methylene blue is just a wonder drug and it just fixed him really quickly. But he was improved immediately after being removed from the tank. So again, that's also why I was like, maybe it was Obi like beating up on Jonathan that was causing this issue. So a week or so after Jonathan's living at home, Obi's in his tank, I actually took that new pump, out of Obi's tank because it was starting to make some noise. It was getting clogged. So I ended up setting back up my old like filter system with the old pump and putting that back in there, and it's been fine since. So I actually had that newer one set aside. I took it home with the intention of making kind of a waterfall or something like that in my guppy pond with it. And I had tested it out a few times. It wasn't working. It was splashing everywhere, but it wasn't causing the fish any issues. It was just causing like too much noise. So I didn't like it. So again, I just kind of set it aside. I had cleaned it out. I sanitized it. It was all fine. Let's move several weeks afterwards, actually like I think 2 months afterwards, early this month, I started setting up the waterfall for Jonathan's tub because I had moved him into a 50-gallon long tub and had set up plants and everything like that. He was doing great in it. And I made this little waterfall similar to how I made Obi's, and I used that pump to pump the water in it. And 1 week after I set that pump up, actually this last Saturday, Jonathan started showing distress. He started like gasping at the surface. He started having issues breathing. He wasn't looking at his food, which is very abnormal for Jonathan. And I'm like, oh God. And I'm panicking. And it was like right as I had gotten up for work. So I'm like, I have to go to work. And so I came into work and I ended up taking an early lunch because I was like, you know what? The thing that is the same that is with this behavior is that pump. So I was like, let me run home. I'm going to take that pump out, do a water change. And I did like a 30% water change. And I just took out the pump part and the tube. And I was like, okay. I come home I'm go back to work and I'm like panicking, like, oh God, is he okay? Is he okay? I wish I had a camera that I could like watch him. And then I get home from work and he's fine. He's perfectly fine. I'm like, okay. I think I figured out what the issue is. And it seems stupid because in my head I'm like, there is no logical reason why it should be the pump. But for some reason, he doesn't like that pump. And everything is kind of pointing to that. Do I have 100% proof that that's what it is? But like I said, when you're a fish keeper, a lot of times you start to get superstitious and you're like, well, okay, I'm noticing a correlation here, or at least, something that seems to be pointing to this direction. And so I'm thinking it is, in fact, that pump in particular that Jonathan doesn't like. Now, I feel bad that I put him through that, and it's very stressful for him, but I'm glad that he's already acting better. And this is now Monday, and he's still acting just fine. I'm going to keep an eye on him for the next couple weeks. But what actually is this is good news. I was actually waiting for this to happen this entire time, because when I had taken him out from Obi's pond, when I was thinking it was bullying from Obi, I was like, well, if the symptoms come back when he's away from Obi, then that means it's not Obi. And in this case, yeah, it's not Obi. Obi's actually not causing this behavior, which means I can put Jonathan back in the tub with Obi, and he can move back with him. And so for all the patrons who come to the library who always are like, where's Jonathan? This is great news. Jonathan actually can come back, which is actually nice too, because it's a much bigger tank. He's much happier with Obi than he is by himself. He's a lot less shy when he's with Obi, and I think this will be really, really good. So I just wanted to give that update. So again, I'm going to watch him for the next couple weeks to make sure that this is the case. But like I said, I moved him out of Obi's tank, and there was no issues at all with his behavior for the past 2 months, and until I added that pump back in. And then all of a sudden it came back. So I'm pretty sure that it's the pump that was causing the issue, which is good. So it'll be a slow reintroduction for him to go back into Obi's tank. I'll probably do it on it like maybe after Thanksgiving, and then keep an eye on him to make sure the symptoms don't come back. And then as long as he looks good, then it'll be great. It also means I will potentially need to break down that tank I built for him at home, which is kind of sad, because I spent some time putting that together, but I wasn't fully finished anyway, so it's kind of not that big of a deal. But another part of me is thinking this is a perfect opportunity to get fish number 3, because again, with Obi and the bullying, I even mentioned it, I think, in the last video, the best way to introduce Jonathan back in, or to do a fish in general, is to have 3 or more. And because in case one is bullying, they can kind of mitigate the bullying between the others. So this might actually be a perfect opportunity to buy fish number 3 and slowly introduce, and quarantine him, and then slowly introduce them into that tank. So, and I can use that 50-gallon at home to do that, which would be good. So anyway, I just wanted to give that update. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.